in the series that we have already started is vitamin B1 after vitamin C, and that is thiamine. Okay, this vitamin is also called as the energizer bunnies of the vitamin world, because this is one of the very important vitamin. And why, let's understand. So when we see that B1 vitamin, we also remember the word berry-beri. You must have heard this since your childhood, that thiamine vitamin is anti-berry-beri or anti-neurotic vitamin, which is water soluble, and this has a very specific coenzyme, thiamine pyrophosphate. Okay, it is also called as a TPP, which is mostly associated with the carbohydrate metabolism, and that is why carbo it is directly associated with carbohydrate metabolism, and that is what is the reason it is called as a energizer. Okay, how we will study in detail. So when you look at the structure of this, you will see that this thiamine contains pyrimidine. Okay, this is your pyrimidine when you look at this. So N group, yeah, this is your pyrimidine group, and then you have these CH2 is your methylene bridge. Okay, so this is your methylene bridge, and reactive this is your reactive carbon, and this CH2OH is your pyrophosphate. When you have this TPP, yeah, in case of this thiamine pyrophosphate, oh sorry, yeah, in this case you have this pyrophosphate group. Okay, so what is this? This is your pyrimidine group, this is your reactive carbon, and when you look at this is your thiazole group, and this is your pyrophosphate group. Okay, and that's how this is TPP. Okay, thiamine pyrophosphate. Okay, and this is majorly this is associated with your carbohydrate metabolism. So this thiamine is substituted pyrimidine linked through this methylene bridge. This is your methylene bridge uh, to a substituted form. Okay, so it can have this form or mononitrate form or this pyrophosphate form. So the in this, if you look thiamine, the alcohol group of thiamine is esterified with the phosphate, that is 2 mole, to form the coenzyme. So in the formation of coenzyme, the alcohol group of OH group of the thiamine is esterified with the phosphate to form the coenzyme thiamine pyrophosphate. If you look, so this thiamine, okay, is the pyrophosphate moiety is then donated by ATP, and the reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme called as thiamine pyrophosphate transferase. Okay, TPP transferase. In your 12th standard, you must have heard about this. Okay, yeah. So this is your methylene pyrimidine. This is your methylene bridge to just give you a further action, and this is your thiazole molecule, and in the thiazole molecule this is your reactive carbon, and this pyrimidine. So this is because of this pyrimidine ring, a thiazole ring is this thiazole ring is held by the methylene bridge to the pyrimidine, and thiamine is basically the only natural compound in the nature with this thiazole ring. Okay, so please remember, This is a very, very unique vitamin because it's the only compound, natural compound with the thiazole ring. And the alcohol group of thiamine is esterified. Okay, this OH group of this thiamine is esterified with the phosphate, like 2 moles of phosphate, 1 and 2 moles of phosphate to form the coenzyme thiamine pyrophosphate, okay, or co-carboxylase. And this enzyme thiamine pyrophosphate transferase then utilize, okay. So basically, if you look, this thiamine is widely distributed in plants, animal tissues, and this is most naturally occurring thiamine exists in TPP, or with a lesser amount non-phosphorylated thiamine, or thiamine monophosphate, or thiamine triphosphate. So either it is mono or triphosphate, or just phosphorylated thiamine. So this thiamine pyrophosphate, just now that we saw, which is the most mm, uh, found form of thiamine, and also the active. So this function as a coenzyme of various keto acid dehydrogenases reaction, keto acid decarboxylase reaction, or phosphoketolases or transketolases. So all these metabolic reaction, you must have heard about these reaction in your 12th standard, wherein we have studied already these decarboxylases reaction or all other reactions. So this thiamine is basically also synthetically made and could be made and commercially available as a hydrochloride and mononitrite salt. So in one of these pictures, this is thiamine hydrochloride chloride, which is a synthetic form, okay, synthetic form, not the natural one. So these forms are widely used for food fortification. So mostly synthetic form, because the natural form is only present in the food, and then when you try to extract or isolate, the functionality or its natural functionality changes. So synthetic forms, and they are being used because they are more stable, though their stability is quite high. They are used in food fortification and nutritional supplements, okay. So it is readily digested, absorbed, and it can function as coenzyme A, or a coenzyme. And this is then thiamine is also used in thiamine pyrophosphate making, how we just now saw. It acts as a coenzyme in various reactions. For example, removing carbon dioxide is required for conversion of pyruvate to acetyl coenzyme. Do you remember that Krebs cycle, or how the pyruvate needs to be converted into acetyl coenzyme? So it also functions as coenzyme for transketolases enzyme in the pentose phosphate pathway, okay, PPP, that converts the 6 glucose to 5 carbon sugar for DNA and RNA. Do you remember this reaction? So you have this glucose which gets converted into pyruvate, and you need this coenzyme, okay, coenzyme A, and in presence of NAD plus, which gets reduced to NAD H plus, taking H plus, and then this acetyl coenzyme A with the removal of CO2. So that is why this coenzyme A is required for removal of carbon dioxide, and then it enters into citric acid cycle. So from glucose to pyruvate conversion, okay, that takes place. There are other vitamins that are required and enzymes, and when you want to from pyruvate to convert the acetyl coenzyme A, and this acetyl coenzyme is needed for citric acid cycle, okay. So this thiamine is required here between conversion of pyruvate to acetyl coenzyme A. Further, if you see the acetyl coenzyme A in the citric acid cycle also, there are places where it is needed, like alpha ketoglutarate needs to be converted into succinyl coenzyme A. There also this thiamine is required. So basically, the daily requirement of the thiamine depends on the intake of carbohydrate. For adults, the requirement is 1 to 1.5 milligram per day. For children, it is little less, that is 0.7 to 1.2 milligram per day. Whereas for pregnant and lactating women, the requirement is 2 milligram per day. So this is required. This thiamine is required in CNS, muscles. We will see all the functions in detail. What are the food sources? It is present in cereals, pulses, oil seeds, nuts. Yeast are also good sources. Therefore, those products prepared from the yeast, like fermented bread or fermented products, are also rich in thiamine until and unless they are consumed without high heat treatment. Other, because this thiamine is thermolabile. And concentrated bran of the cereal, you know that this is a wheat grain, so you have for each grain there is a bran. So thiamine is concentrated in the bran portion. You know, rice also has a bran, wheat also has a bran. So these cereals have a bran. So this bran consists of thiamine vitamin. Apart from that, in the animal sources like liver and pork also consist of this thiamine vitamin. Okay. So now polishing of rice removes 80% of thiamine, because you know you have this paddy. Paddy consists of the outer coating, that is the cellulosic husk, which contains a lot of silica. That is not digestible to human, because human doesn't have those enzymes to digest that cellulosic and hemical. So what we do in the paddy, we remove the husk. Okay. So once you remove the husk, you get the brown rice, and after this you see this brown rice, and when you remove this brown thing, you get the polished rice. Okay, so you are removing this bran, and as I said, in the bran there is a vitamin B1, and when you remove this through polishing, because white rice is most preferred, and therefore we remove this. Okay, so B1 is also present in pork, liver, heart, kidney, milk and milk products, fermented products. Okay, so in the parboiled rice, thiamine is not lost. Why? Because parboiling is the process in which the paddy means the husk. Okay, and then inside there is a bran layer, there is a paddy, there is a husk. So parboiling is a treatment in which this husk or the paddy along with the husk is boiled. Okay, so during this boiling the water diffusion takes place, and when there is a diffusion of water at a high temperature of around 150 degrees Celsius under pressure, the bran has this thiamine. So what happens? This thiamine diffuses inside the endosperm, and therefore the parboiled rice thiamine is not lost. Okay, so there are other advantages and disadvantages of parboiled rice, which we will not be discussing here, but that is what is the case. So vitamin B1 is restored when you do the parboiling of the rice. Okay, thiamine is a water soluble vitamin extracted into water during cooking. So in the Indian context, if you see, we cut the vegetable, like take an example of spinach, we cut it, or we take matar, or any vegetable. So what we do, we cut, we clean it, then cut it, and then after cutting you put it in water. Then during the cooking water, this vitamin, because it is a water soluble, it leaches out. Sometimes that is why after cutting the vegetable, cooking should be avoided, and water throwing, that leached water should not be thrown, especially of vitamin D. At the very you can meet, see, consuming whole cereal, around 3/4 cup of cereal consumption will meet your 150 requirement. That is, it will give you 2.25 milligram of thiamine. So consume whole cereals. Okay, and there are products that are made from the cereal. Rice is not very good, because it is a polished rice, so it's not very good source of thiamine, or it is a source if you consume brown rice. Okay, so here it is lost due to polishing. Sunflower seed also is a good source of this thiamine vitamin, and pork and liver is really very good source of thiamine vitamin. So, as a food technologist, when we are deciding on processing condition, it is very necessary to look and think about where the losses of thiamine are taking place. So losses of thiamine can occur in fully hydrated foods during storage at moderate temperature. Moderate means even at low temperature, because this is a highly temperature sensitive water soluble vitamin. So thiamine exhibits excellent stability under conditions of low water activity. Like for example, you have these dehydrated resins or osmotically dehydrated fruits or vegetable. So there the water activity is quite low, where the stability of this thiamine is excellent. Thiamine is also unstable in many fishes and crustaceans post harvest, and this has been attributed to the presence of enzyme. So when you have fish, okay, when you harvest fish and this fish, after harvesting, because of the post-mortem changes that takes place, this thiaminase enzyme gets activated, and this thiaminase enzyme acts on then this thiamine, and therefore there is a degradation. Okay, so thiamine degradation activity is caused by the hemiproteins, that is myoglobin and hemoglobin. Maybe in this chemistry of food constituent we will study what are those pigments responsible for the red color. So that are thermostable non-enzymatic catalyst of thiamine degradation. So they causes the thiamine degradation, okay, because of these proteins, because of the non-enzymatic catalyst. The presence of thiamine degrading proteins in tuna, pork, beef muscle suggests that the denatured myoglobin. Myoglobin is a meat protein. Okay, myoglobin may be involved in the degradation of thiamine during food processing and storage. So also you know that there are certain vegetables and fruits. For example, if you take spinach also contains tannins, or you take an example of apple. So apple might contain vitamin or thiamine, but at the same time, if there is lot of tannin, that can inactivate thiamine. Or for example, if you take the tablet of thiamine, or liver containing thiamine or B1, and that you consume, okay, and after your consumption, what you do, if you uh, if you take the source of tannin in the form of green tea or tea, it inactivate the thiamine, and that we know that one nutrient effect on the other and makes it unavailable. So here in this case, tannin can inactivate the thiamine by the formation of several inactive adducts. So various flavonoids also alter the thiamine molecule. Proteins, carbohydrate can reduce the rate of thiamine degradation. So as such, we know that the food is a very complex system, and in this complex system, one nutrient react with the other. And also the use of bisulfite, you must have heard about potassium metabisulfite, or there are other bisulfite that are very widely used in preservation of fruits and vegetables, because they are antimicrobial agent, and therefore use of these bisulfite reduces or degrades the vitamin thiamine. So this table indicates the typical losses of thiamine from the canned food during the storage. So these values are nothing but the retention after 12 months of storage at two different conditions. One is 38 degrees Celsius, which is accelerated, and another one is a low temperature storage. Okay, so, for example, the apricots which were canned and stored for 12 months at 38 degrees Celsius, there was a 35% only retention of thiamine observed, whereas the moment the same sample when was stored at a lower temperature, there was a higher retention, like almost 72% retention of thiamine was observed. So, in this case, the temperature plays a very important, because this vitamin is a temperature sensitive vitamin. Look at the tomato juice, okay, and not only the temperature, but the inherent pH of the solution also affect on the stability. You must have studied somewhere intrinsic factor and extrinsic factor that helps in retention of bioactive or nutrients. So this inherent pH of the tomato juice, because tomato has malic acid or some acids, and that acid decreases the pH, and decrease in the pH increases the stability of thiamine. So in this case, high temperature only retain 60% of the thiamine, whereas at lower temperature the thiamine stability at low pH of tomato was 100%. Peas, okay, sometimes alkaline condition or acidic condition also retains. In case of orange juice also, there was a very good stability of thiamine or retention. Almost 100% retention was observed when the juice was stored at 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to the 38 degrees Celsius. So what is the mechanism that involved in the degradation of this thiamine? So the rate and mechanism of the thermal degradation of thiamine is, as I mentioned, is strongly influenced by the pH, and that could be seen immediately from the table that we see. So here there is a acidic pH, but where it is an alkaline condition, in this case acidic condition. Okay, so acidic condition obviously and affects. Okay, so in acidic condition, like if the pH is less than 6, the thermal degradation of thiamine occurs really slowly, and it involves the cleavage of methylene bridge to release the pyrimidine and thiazole moieties. We have seen that the pyrimidine and thiazole both are linked by the methylene bridge. So because of this pH, there is a cleavage of that methylenic bridge, okay, methylene, and then therefore you will see that pyrimine and thiazole moieties are like releases the pyrimidine and thiazole moieties. So between, if you have pH between 6 and 7, thiamine degradation accelerate, okay. But if you have pH 8, again it's like intact thiazole rings are not found among the products. So thiamine degradation is pH dependent, is known to yield a large number of sulfur containing compounds that presumably arise from the fragmentation of this thiazole, because in the thiazole ring there is a S, okay. So there are sulfur containing compounds that are rising from the fragmentation and rearrangement of the thiazole ring. So these compounds have shown to contribute the meaty flavor. Products from thiazole fragmentation are thought to arise from the these changes in the thiamine that exist in the thiol or other forms. Okay, so this thiamine also rapidly degrades in presence of like bisulfite ions, and that is why the federal regulations or FSSI prohibits the use of sulfiting agent in the foods like KMS. Those are significant sources of dietary thiamine. Okay, only in that case. So thiamine deficiency may occur, and what is this thiamine deficiency? So basically there is a disease called as a Wernicke Korsakoff syndrome, which is basically is a disorder mostly seen in the chronic alcoholic people. Okay, chronic alcoholics. So this disease, the body demands of thiamine, okay, increases because of the large consumption of alcohol. So insufficient intake, if the person is taking too much of alcohol but at the same time there is no thiamine intake, or insufficient intake or impaired intestinal absorption of thiamine, will lead to this syndrome. And it is basically uh, 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 because alcohol decreases the thiamine absorption, it increases the it often if the person is consuming very low diet, and then symptoms include double vision or ataxia, or it is like memory loss, apathy, rhythmical to and fro motion of the eyeballs. And as we have seen, thiamine deficiency also leads to the disease called as a Beri-beri. and it also affects on cardiovascular system, central nervous system, muscles. Okay, so beri-beri is the most commonly known disease. So basically there are other changes also in B1 deficiency, like biochemical changes in B1 deficiency takes place, as I mentioned, is related to carbohydrate metabolism. I will explain it later. So let's see what is this beri-beri. So beri-beri is basically of two types, and this beri-beri is a meaning I cannot. It is a meaning of this beri-beri word, beri-beri, I cannot. So beri-beri is mostly seen in the population consuming exclusively polished rice as a staple food. Only those who are consuming only polished rice as a staple food, and no whole grains or no whole food is consumed. Okay, so therefore in that case, this disease is characterized by uh, beri-beri. Okay, so the early symptoms of thiamine deficiency, as I said, is big. Most early symptoms like nausea, mental depression, loss in appetite, which is also called as anorexia. Okay, anorexia means loss of appetite. Your person feel very weak, so weakness, sometimes constipation, nausea, mental depression, and mental depression, if it is not treated or taken care, peripheral neuropathy, irritability, etc., numbness in the legs, complaints of pins and needles. Many people, when they sit for some time, they complain that pins and needle sensations are reported, and that is because of the initial symptoms of thiamine. Okay, so there are a lot of changes in B1 deficiency takes place, like thiamine deficiency, and the one is the carbohydrate metabolism is impaired. As we have seen in the initial case that vitamin B1 is essential for glucose metabolism. So from glucose to pyruvate, like glycolysis happens, and then when you have this pyruvate, okay, so pyruvate, to convert the pyruvate from acetyl to form acetyl coenzyme, you need this thiamine. Okay, thiamine. So if you have this thiamine deficiency, this this stops here. Okay, it cannot go ahead. Okay, and then the Krebs cycle or TCA cycle. So this here the carbohydrate metabolism is badly affected. Okay, it is impaired. So in this accumulation of pyruvate occurs because it is not further going. So what is happening? Accumulation of pyruvate occurs in the tissues, which is very very harmful, and pyruvate concentration in plasma becomes elevated. So therefore the concentration in the plasma, a pyruvate concentration in the plasma is increased. Okay, and it is also excreted in urine, because if you have more plasma concentration of pyruvate, it is also increased in the urine. So in thiamine deficiency, an alteration occurs in the also blood brain barrier. Normally, see, this pyruvate does not cross the blood brain. Okay, generally pyruvate does. So if it is accumulating, what happens? Okay, see, when it will accumulate, when only there is a thiamine deficiency, so it will accumulate, and initially you will see that it is excreted in the urine or it is elevated in the plasma. But then slowly if you do not address this, pyruvate can enter into the brain also. So normally this does not cross the blood brain. So there is always a barrier. From the blood, it will reaches to the brain, but blood brain barrier will not permit and enter. Therefore, it will not enter into the brain. However, if the thiamine deficiency is extreme or more, an alteration in the blood brain barrier permitting efficiency is affected. Okay, and then it permits the pyruvate to enter into the brain directly. So suppose this is a brain, and then there is a, so if you have an excess, then it will enter into the brain directly, and it is believed that this pyruvate accumulation in the brain result into disturbed metabolism that may be responsible for polyneuritis. Okay, I already mentioned the brain related diseases are more. Okay, that is polyneuritis, and thiamine deficiency leads to therefore impairment in the nerve impulse transmission, because there is a lack of TPP. Okay, lack of TPP. So this is very very important. The transketolase activity in erythrocyte is decreased. Measurement of RBC transketolase activity is a reliable diagnostic test to access the. So when you want to access the thiamine deficiency, so measurement of RBC transketolase enzyme or its activity is a reliable, because this directly this transketolase activity is decreased. Okay, because of the thiamine deficiency. So if you just diagnose this activity, it will give an indication if the thiamine deficiency occurred. So basically in adults there are two types of beri-beri, namely wet beri-beri and dry beri-beri. So infantile beri-beri is also occurs, but that's different from this wet and dry beri-beri. We will see that infantile beri-beri later on. So what is wet beri-beri? So basically this wet beri-beri is characterized by edema of legs, edema of face, edema of trunk, edema of cavities, serous cavities. Okay, and there might be breathlessness and palpitation. The calf muscles are slightly swollen, and the most importantly, the blood pressure, especially the systolic blood pressure, is elevated, while diastolic pressure and fast and bouncing pulse, like you will see that a person having a fast and a very bouncing pulse is observed. And because of this, the heart becomes weak, and if this condition is not addressed, death may occur due to the heart failure. So what happens in the dry beri-beri? This is associated with the neurological manifestation. We saw just now that how neural system is affected due to the pyruvate accumulation, and then this neurological manifestation is because of that peripheral neuritis. What is peripheral neuritis? The pyruvate enters into the brain. Okay, and then because of that pyruvate accumulation in the brain results into the disturbed metabolism of it is this dry directly associated with the polyneuritis. Okay, so edema is not commonly seen. The muscles become progressively weak and weak and weak, and they becomes more and more weaker over the period. The affected individuals depends on their support to walk. The person cannot even walk. The person need especially the support to walk, and then they become forbidden, and many even die over the period of time if they are not treated. Okay, so the symptoms of these beri-beri are often mixed, in which it is referred to as a mixed beri-beri. So there is also this is also called as a mixed beri-beri. One may get these symptoms of dry and wet beri-beri. Then as I said, there is a third beri-beri, which is called as a infantile beri-beri, and this is seen in the infant. And how do infant gets that infantile beri-beri? So infant born to the mother suffering from the thiamine deficiency, because the infants are fed on the breast milk, and those mothers who do not have thiamine, what happens? This breast milk of these mothers contains very low thiamine or no thiamine. So this infantile beri-beri is characterized by sleeplessness, restlessness, child cries a lot, convulsions, bouts of screaming resemble like abdominal colic, and it's very difficult to address. And most of these symptoms are due to then cardiac dilations, and the child may die if it is not addressed, and then cardiac failure may also occur. So I have mentioned that this is a disorder mostly seen in the chronic alcoholics. The body demand for thiamine increases because of the alcohol, and then loss in memory. So thiamine. So if you see this overall, you see there are a lot of places wherein this thiamine is required, and this is what I wanted to show that. Okay, so there are many functions which are performed by the thiamine. Okay,